Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you, Julian. My name is Aaron AJ Navarro here from Mexico City, from a media called Cinent. And let's talk about this film, which is Niko. For me, it was inevitable to think about one book that you published on pandemic with photographs, because I think the style of those pictures remind me so much of the style that you get in Nico. And I wonder a little bit if that's kind of the influence that got you to talk about in a film about loneliness, but also about love, because I think it's that counterposition of feelings is really great.
Hmm. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think it's definitely linked. Like Nico is a very yeah, she's a very lonely person. She's surrounded by people. People love her, but she's lonely because she's misunderstood. And I think yeah, like basically I wrote most of that script also during the pandemic, during that time. And I was shooting also pictures about like this kind of empty cities, etc. at the same time. Um, I think I think the pandemic was for me a way for people to realize that they were lonely. But I think people like Nico, they already know that. So it's yeah, I think it's all linked. And I wrote that during this script was written, in 2020, 2021 is middle of this moment. So yeah, for sure, it's linked.
That's great. Also, tell me a little bit about the development of Nico, because, like you said, she is always disconnected. But I love the fact that you point out that she's like the last romantic, and I think that's very important because in a world like ours, when we thought that we lived all by ourselves alone in the pandemic, it seems that we got back to it, but we're even lonelier than before. So I
Hmm.
think that's very interesting, and I think also that affects the fact of being in love because you feel like you cannot connect anymore.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. I basically when I was when I was writing the scripts, I would say like the main note I had was like romance versus the big city. So basically, Nico is this romantic girl, and because she lives in a big city where people are kind of, cynical, etc., she feels like more and more like lonely. And I would say like um after the pandemic, etc., we kind of hope that things will be better, but they're not. It's not. And I just I just don't think that this world is kind to romantic people, to emotional people in general. And I think it's like less and less possible to be like emotional and to be like an artistic person and like a pure person in a way. Pure in a sense that to let your emotions kind of flow. Um, because that's not the kind of people who are successful. That's not the kind of people who are supposed to be, like serious and uh respected, etc. So Nico is definitely like exactly the kind of person I love personally, but the kind of person that struggle in this world.
Totally. And I love the fact that you mentioned the artistic part because the fact that she's a screenwriter also kind of reflects a little bit of what you do in a way, right? Because you're an artist also. Tell me a little bit about that because I think there are many like little glimpses of your personality, not only in Nico, but also in the rest of the characters that surround her that need to connect with something.
Yeah, it's true. Like there's a lot of me in Nico and in Jeremy for sure. I think Nico, like the fact that she's writing stories, but no one wants to shoot them, no one wants to, give her a chance. That's something I've been through when I started because I didn't go to film school. I didn't go to art school. I had no contact. I really didn't know how to make my art happen in a way. So it was very lonely first years as a filmmaker for sure. Because I was not in the system. I didn't know how it worked. And I think for Nico that's the case for her for sure. She doesn't know the right people, etc. But also she's a woman, and Korea is still a very, very like sexist society, like most societies anyway. But And so I think she's kind of like a victim in many ways of that. Like, people think she's fun, she's beautiful, etc., but people don't really listen to her. So that's definitely, I would say, the beginning of her revolt.
Funny that you mentioned that part because I think that it's not only Niko, it's all the female characters around her that they're not nobody listens to them. I love for example, the fact that the girl that has that's sending all the newspapers all days, and nobody listens to her. Everybody ignores her, even so that's and it's not only her. It's the woman that lost his husband, and that's another thing that I love the fact that you touch the loss, the fact of losing someone, that it's another kind of loneliness. So tell me a little bit about that because I think it's a very interesting way that you put it out there.
Hmm. Actually, yeah, thank you for noticing. I love these two characters like so much. Like this news girl is like actually at in the script, that's character was much smaller. And as we were preparing the shoot, I was in Korea and I was like, you know what? Let's make it more present. Like this girl comes back all the time and she's screaming, she's giving the news and no one listens to her. And she's also the only person who kind of ask Niko, etc., like, why are you not angry? Like, what's happening? Like, why is everyone just living a normal life? And I think that every day, like, I feel like the news, every day, if you look at the news, if you listen to the news, like, we should all be doing the revolution, kind of, but we don't. We just kind of, oh yeah, like what can we do? And so that character selling newspaper is so important because she's kind of asking the question that I'm asking myself every day. And then Louise, like that person who lost her husband, is definitely also, yeah, she's kind of like, yeah, she's about loss, but she's kind of this delusional person who refuse to be alone and refuse to accept that she's alone. And I wrote that person as well to kind of make it feel like in Niko, almost everyone is they kind of lost their minds, but they don't really accept it and they don't really act about it. So yeah.
Also, I love the fact that you made it. You mentioned right now that you. I mean, it's a futuristic film, but it feels so realistic, so authentic, so like the present day. So I think that's a very curious thing. I remember a guy like Steven Spielberg said one day that the best sci-fi is the one that you can relate to, the one
Hmm.
that is closer to you. So tell me a little bit about that because I think that also is a very interesting way because it's like they're living in a society that also remembered me like for 1984's George Orwell. So I don't
Hmm.
know. It's like they're all under vigilance. They cannot travel. They're not as free as they want to. So tell me a little bit about that construction because even if it's not the principal subject of the film, it is there and it works out to kind of enhance for me, the loneliness of the characters.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny because you're actually not the first person who talked to me about tells me about 1984. So I maybe there is a link indeed. No, but like, yeah, I agree with you. It's like I for me, sci-fi is or like any kind of like dystopia is interesting because it should tell us something about our lives. And what I what I did in Niko is I took the world we live in and I just pushed the volume up a little bit. That's it. Like here in the life in the world we live in now, we I think there are a lot of things that feel like the end of the world. Like, the world is on fire. There are like wars everywhere. Like the government's like horrible, etc. It really feels pretty shitty. But we don't really do anything about it. We do just little things. And I think in Nico, I just kind of made it clear. Like they say, okay, it's the end of the world. We have just a few years left. What do we do with that? So it's definitely, I wanted to make it as believable, as contemporary as possible. So I think some people would see it as a metaphor of, the climate crisis. Some people would see it as a metaphor of like war. That's always like, a possibility in these days. But I agree. And I think the quote from Spielberg that you just said is like, I agree 100%. Like sci-fi, like anything that uses our imagination is interesting because it helps us understand the real world.
Totally. Also wanted to ask you, there's a part in the script when they mention where would you go if you could, and they mentioned the character mentions Mexico,
Yeah.
between Rome and everything. So as a Mexican guy, I would like to know why Mexico.
I was thinking like like a place that would feel so, you know, dreamy for Niko who lives because Seoul, like North Korea, we shot in, South Korea, we shot in the middle of winter, and South Korea's winter is very, very cold. It was like -10 when we were shooting, etc. But I also feel like, Niko she's a city girl. She always says, I'm a city girl, I'm a city girl. So, if she dreams about a place, I don't think she would dream about like a beach or something. She would dream about like a city, but that's not cold, that's more like, with more sun, etc. So I was like, oh, maybe she would like Mexico. And then she talked about Rome. So that's kind of I thought that would be what she would dream of.
Yeah, we're a very dreamy kind of a city. Yeah.
Yeah, but also it's a dreamy city, I think but it's Mexico is a massive city. It's huge. And so is Seoul. So I was like, oh, it fits with her. Like she still wants to be in a big city, but she wants sun and she wants like a different life.
Totally. Also, tell me a bit about working with Tiffany because she was a great star, a great pop star. I think it's very peculiar that here she kind of faces the other side. She's not popular. She's very unpopular, in fact. She's lonely, like we said, but also the fact that well, the character kind of has to live her kind of a piece of life or piece of love with the music. I think it was very interesting too because it's like an extension of her persona in the real life. I don't know. I feel like that connection. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, for sure. I think there was a lot of I know that Tiffany definitely felt connected with the character. She talked a lot about this, about um, like how Niko is trying to be true to herself and she's trying to be true to her art, etc. And so I think Tiffany really felt connected with that. But basically, working with her was great. But first, she's a lovely person, but also she's so hardworking because the K-pop world is very demanding. So she really had to work so hard all her life, and we were shooting in really difficult conditions, late at night, etc. And she was always down. She was always like, "Yeah, let's go, let's do it," which I think for me was very, very impressive. But also just like yeah, just inspiring. And personally, I'm not like a very familiar with K-pop. I was just treating her as my actress, and also as a friend because we worked together for so long for the film that we became friends a little bit. But like, I was not treating her differently from the other actors, which I think for her is great too. It's like she wanted to be an actress like the other actors, and it was. I think it would have been difficult if I was, treating her like this like superstar. I know she's a massive star, but like for me, she's like a normal person, and yeah, she was honestly one of the best actress I've ever worked with. She was amazing.
That's great. Also, in the verge of the end of the world, which is not only happening on Nickel, unfortunately, it's kind of happening. It feels like it's happening in the real world.
Yeah.
Uh, what would you say about the fact that you can make this kind of films, that kind of stories, which is an independent completely,
Mm.
and that it seems that this kind of films, this independent films, the directors and artists like yourself in the whole world are getting their voices heard, and they get very powerful voice, indeed. So tell me a little bit about it, because I think indie films right now are like a big hit, and there are the very interesting stories, even more than some blockbusters.
Yeah, I agree. But first, for me, every piece of art is political. I don't believe in like neutral art. And I think when you want to do independent art and independent movies, you you're already making a statement. You're already saying like, I want to make a movie. It's not about money. It's not about commercial success. It's about telling a story, which is already a political statement. And then yeah, I think now like a lot of stories, a lot of like books and movies are talking about yeah, this feeling of end of the world, this I mean, this world is not going well, like obviously, and but it's also very difficult to protest because there's a lot of it's kind of dangerous to protest in many countries. So I think art is a way to do it, and it's a very powerful way to do it. And my movie is definitely has a political statement inside, which is that because Niko says it a few times in the movie, like nothing in this city is made for us. We don't have money. We're being pushed aside. We're being kicked out. And I would say the root of her discontent and the root of her anger is that she's poor and she cannot, there is no social ladder for her. She's going to be poor all the time. She feels that. Um, and yeah, I wanted to talk about this too because it's a very important subject for me personally, and I think the like the current movie scene. There's, as you said, there are definitely like big movies, but also like these very independent ones, and it's completely disconnected. I think it's a very different scene, and I think we have to say something. We have to make statements.
Totally, we have to still be the romantics.
Yes. Yeah, it's again, and like I think being romantic, like talking about love and trying to be, like true to your feelings, it's also political because it's like no one does that.
I totally agree, Julian. Well, I just have to thank you for your time for this interview.
So much.
I hope you enjoyed this talk. I really liked the
I
film.
did.
It was very interesting. And well, I hope that Fantasia kind of opened more doors for the film and for you as an artist. We hope that many other of your films can make it to the whole world. I know you've done a lot of commercials, but I hope that this artist and this romantic side and this political side remains in the whole history of the world.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, AJ. It was a great talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ellen.